Hey guys, welcome to EuroLeague Fantasy Talks. In this episode, we will talk about BasketNews EuroLeague Fantasy and our preparation for round 25. And this is my team from round 24. I got a total of 133 fantasy points and reduced the budget by minus 30k. But at this point, it's inevitable when we take the best players, and of course, their averages are very high as well as the prices, and every single small game can reduce their budget negatively. So that's what happened this time. For example, James made only 3 out of 15 shots, and that affected us a lot. We also captained him, so that's unfortunate. Otherwise, also Hayes Davis was rested because Norbachev is winning the game against Virtus, and therefore only 3.3 fantasy points. Otherwise, Milutinov and other guys did score well, but overall 6 out of 10 guys reduced the budget, and that's hence the negative capital gain. Hernan Gomez did well. Sterling Brown doesn't get so many shots because Dwayne Washington and others are back, and he also didn't have any rebounds and only 1 assist, hence 0 fantasy points for him. But let's check how much these guys need to score in round 25 not to drop their price. And Milutinov has the best numbers with 8.2 fantasy points. He would not reduce his price. I don't think Vezenkov can have that crazy game of 48, so if he doesn't, then his price will drop. Maledon needs 16, Shorts 15, and Mike James 29 fantasy points not to reduce their value. Brown 23, Hayes Davis 31. Booker is injured, so we have to trade him out, and Yasonia 20 fantasy points not to drop their price. So let's go and make the trades now. So I have to sell Booker. I will also sell Sterling because of the reduced role, with not so many shots when Dwayne Washington is back. And I also wanted to have Zach Liddy. So I decided to sell Hazonia because he's stable at around 15 fantasy points, but lately he doesn't get too many performances around 20 fantasy points because he has to play both in Spanish League and EuroLeague, and he has in a way limited minutes because he rarely plays more than 30 minutes. So therefore I will sell him. So as I said, I really wanted to have Zach Liddy, so I'm getting him, and he's also playing on Tuesday, so that will help us to have a good balance. And he's playing against Bayern with Devin Booker injured. I don't know who will actually stop Zach Liddy. That's why I believe he can have a feast in Munich, and that's why he's a must-buy for this week. And for my center, I want to get another guy that plays on Thursday, and that's why we have to go with the big guns, and I get Joel Bolomboy. Bolomboy is simply the best center that will play in next round. That is not injured, of course. So by fantasy points average, also Aswell is not the toughest opponent, and very important that he will play on Tuesday. And for guard, we will pick another strong player, and we will go with Carson Edwards. So actually, I forgot to mention, Liddy needs to score 13 fantasy points not to drop his price, Bolomboy 31 fantasy points not to drop his price, and Carson Edwards, actually, he would not reduce his value even if he scores minus 19 fantasy points. So Edwards is very good for price growing and also plays on Tuesday, as I already have enough players playing on Wednesday. So I want to go with Edwards, and he should perform rather well as he will be playing at home. And Milan doesn't perform too much of a defense, especially when playing away. I'm happy to have 6 players playing on Tuesday, and then we have 4 players to exchange for Wednesday. And I will go with Liddy as my captain. And if something happens and it doesn't perform so well, I will go with Zenkov as my captain on Wednesday. So that will be my team for round 25. And let's now go check the price going stats for best players in each position by fantasy points average. So these are the top 10 centers that are not for sure injured, but can be questionable, of course. So please check before round deadline if all the players that you want to pick are eligible to play. Otherwise, as I said, Bolomboy needs to score 31 fantasy points not to drop in price. So he might actually drop his price, but hopefully not so much. But we are going for the fantasy points that he should bring. Tavares actually very good for price going with only 3.5 fantasy points. He would actually not reduce his value, so very likely to grow in price. Milutinov we already know. Donta Hall is also good for price going with 5.7. Laverne 15, Poirier also, Sako 12. Otur is actually good with -2, even he would still not reduce his price. So for example, 0 fantasy points should grow his price. And when it comes to Willy Hernangomez, if he would play, he needs to score 5.9 fantasy points. But I think that depends a lot if Jan Wesley would play. And if Jan Wesley doesn't play, actually good chance that Willy will play. But let's see how many minutes he get. as coach chooses now Yusufa Fall or Chimezi Metu, so Willie might not get so many minutes, but otherwise it's not a big margin for him to hit, not to reduce his price, so it might be a consideration. So in the forwards, the players that we don't know yet was Moneke with -7, good pick for price going. Tyreek Jones 12.5, Shengelia -4, a leader of his team at the moment. Petrushev -8.5 would not reduce his price, so actually if you pick him even at 5 or 0 fantasy points, he would still increase his value. And Diallo needs 35.5 not to reduce his price. Shorts, Maledon, and Campazzo are the top 3 fantasy points average guys, and we all need very similar, around 16-17 fantasy points not to drop their price. Nunn needs a lot after some bad performances. He needs to score 62, so definitely reducing his price. Carlick Jones with 0, he should not drop in price, so that's good. That's why I picked Carson Edwards, because with -19 he would not reduce. And punter also has good stats. Francisco play against Alba with 8.8 might also be a good pick, unless Žalgiris decided to change their tactics and not focus on Francisco so much. And Evan Fournier with 8 fantasy points would not reduce his price. So let's now go check best price growing stats in each position, starting with centers. Shanley, Caruso, and Gillespie. We have respectively -12 and -7 fantasy points not to drop in price, so actually everything that we score more than that would increase their price, and by a good margin, depending how much we score. Our constable mentions are Birutis, Kratzer, again, same situation. He actually would not reduce his price, whatever amount he scores, as 50k is the lowest you can be priced at. But if he scores more than 1.5, he should increase his price. And Tavares, we already saw. Yusufa Fall 4.6, not to reduce his value. And forwards is the best is Lou Kobaro with for only 820k. Actually, he would grow his price even whatever number he scores, as I don't believe that he can score -24, so he definitely will grow his price, unless he would not play at all in that game. Tyson Ward with -13, Niels G5 with -10, Petrushev with -8.6, and Robertson with -3.6 would not reduce their price. Bonga and Venin Grable both have -1.8, so also good picks for price going. And when it comes to guards, Blatt needs -14. Actually, that's his threshold, so he definitely will score more and grow his price. Bartolomea will grow his price. Kamar Baldwin. McDowell White should play more because Hermanson will be injured. Goodrich is growing and is a very good pick with -6 fantasy points. He would still not reduce his price, so definitely should continue growing. So that's all, guys. For more content on EuroLeague Fantasy, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.